Welcome, everyone, to Higher Moment Mastermind. I'm Sheryl Lotzar, happy to be joined by Varun Challenger and Alki Thompson, I'm guessing, is not joining us today. It's July 4th. Thank you for being here with us. So, for those of you who are new, not new, I've been changing up our meeting a little bit recently. For the last 5 years, as we've been doing this meeting, we typically make it an open Q&A. Still happy to do some of that, but I am also using this group as a little bit of an incubator right now because there's a separate group I want to start for the federally disrupted folks, um, federal employees, contractors, NGOs, and I want to call that group Higher Vision. And that group is going to be a curated networking experience to help everybody leverage each other's network to go land work. Well, I want to do that here. And I've done this the last two meetings here with, I think, some success. And so you guys are my guinea pigs to test it out in a small meeting before we kind of launch it to something which I think is going to be a pretty big group with the federal folks. And so with that, I've actually come up with a document. And again, we're just pilot testing this. I need some grace from everybody here, okay? I came up with a document that I'm going to be sharing with all of you. It's not a PowerPoint, it's a Word doc. It's an actual kind of manual, if you will. It's going to run through sort of a whole kind of process around networking. It's going to start with why do we network, the techniques to use LinkedIn to network, and it's going to sort of go through some specifics. So it's something I will put in the chat when I'm done, but I want to again walk it through with all of you. Again, you're my test case here to talk about it. And then we're going to actually get into some networking like we did the last couple of meetings. And what's ultimately going to happen here after I go through some of the training, is that all of you are going to have an opportunity to share with each other in this group what kind of what I call your lane and community, what kind of job you're looking for, what kind of title, which is your lane, what kind of community, which is your sector that you're looking for. And then everybody else in the room is going to open up their LinkedIn, and you're going to go into your first level contacts, and you're going to see if you know anybody who could be a good connection for somebody else in the room, right? Because we all have lots and lots of connections, right? And you never know who knows who. Now, this is a very diverse group. I'm sure all of you are different professions, different sectors, different everything. And that's what makes it kind of interesting, right? Because you're all over the place. But with that said, I'm going to take you through a way to talk through all this. So with that, I'm going to open up this document that I created. And again, have some grace here. I'm just doing this sort of to show you what's in here. You are going to get this document. And again, it's not a deck. It's not something pretty. It's really about, kind of the content. And let me see if my computer's getting very slow. Oh my goodness. Oh, please, please, please share. Oh boy. All right, it's stuck. Why is it stuck? Oh no. Oh boy. Can you all hear me? My screen just went blank.
Yeah, we can hear you,
Oh,
Sharon.
wait, hold on. I think it's coming up here. There it is. Okay. Can you all see this document? Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I'm not going to read every word, but I want you to see kind of what's in here that I'm going to be sharing with all of you. And the first thing is why network? Right? We talk about this a lot on this call, but I thought it would be nice to sort of codify it a little bit. And the first thing is that the job boards are just flooded. It is near impossible to get a job through the job boards these days. It was challenging anyway before the federal disruption. Now it is pretty difficult. And it used to be that employers were getting 1 to 200 applications in the first 24 to 48 hours when they would post on these boards. And by the way, because they were getting so flooded, employers stopped using them. So much so that Career Builder and Monster just declared bankruptcy. I don't know if everybody knows that. Okay. Yep. Yep. This is serious. We talk about this a lot, but this is proof in the pudding that the job boards are not where it's at. It absolutely is about networking. It's about who do you know and who can introduce you to the right kind of opportunities. People do business with people they know, like, and trust, and I'm going to talk about that in just a second. Um, 80% of private sector jobs are pretty much hidden from the market. I say private sector because for those folks who are in the federal government, um, typically, right, the jobs are all posted on USA Jobs, and federal government employees have been discouraged from networking. So it's a kind of anathema to most feds. But in the private sector, most are hidden from the market because recruiters are going out there, employers are going out there and asking their colleagues, right, who do you know that would be a good fit? And especially because these jobs are kind of unicorn, everybody wants that special person. It's more likely that they're going to want to find, right, that unique person rather than getting a flood of people from the job boards. And I mentioned, people do business with people they know, like, and trust because hiring is a risk. They would rather hire a referral than a stranger. Let me say that again. They would rather hire a referral than a stranger. So it's a little bit less risky than hiring somebody off the street. Also, you need to get noticed beyond the applicant tracking system and beyond the AI screening tools. Okay. So companies that are over 200 employees typically use this ATS, this database to house their resumes. And so the recruiter is the one who goes in and kind of puts in all these little keywords to say, oh, I want to search for this person and that person. Your resume may or may not have the exact keywords that the recruiter is looking for. Okay. So again, another reason to network, to go outside the system so that you can actually get noticed. And I put it here, pro tip, we talk about this a lot in this call, having an internal champion to shepherd your candidacy to the hiring manager is super important. Preferably somebody in C-suite, or the hiring manager directly, to get your resume to the HR or the recruiter can really help elevate your candidacy for a specific interview. And then I also say, because your network wants it to help. And you may not realize this, but most people do. They really do. Most people generally want to help people in need. Most people want to help employers in their network to fill openings. And oh, by the way, not for nothing, there are definitely employers, private sector employers who will offer referral bonuses, multiple thousands of dollars if somebody refers somebody to the job and that person stays for 6 months to a year. So there's a mind shift that I kind of like to say that it's really not about, hey, going to your network and saying I'm asking for a job. Then it's about you. This is not about you. This is, I want to offer my talents to an employer to advance their mission. And that way you're being a blessing, not an imposition. Okay, this is a mind shift that I want you all to go through because most people get nervous around networking. Oh, I don't want to go to my network and put my hand out like Oliver Twist asking for more girl. No, it's not that. It's you have superpowers, you have talents that can help an organization with their mission. So go be a blessing. Okay, that's one of the reasons to network because other people are looking for you. You got to be known. But what if you're uncomfortable with networking? Right? Maybe you consider yourself introverted. Maybe you don't have an extensive network. Think of this as an opportunity to help somebody else solve their challenges, right? We are here to love and serve. And so your job search could be a wonderful excuse to help somebody find someone who could benefit from your support. And then hopefully you'll get some benefit too. And so again, if you're discouraged from job search networking because you've been a Fed, again, shift your mindset if you're going to try to land in the private sector because employers are hiring a person. They're not hiring a resume, so they need some reassurances that you're going to be a good fit. All right, so how to do this, right? So I talk about how to focus and prioritize your networking. You need to help your network refer you to the right opportunities. Most people have a big challenge with this because they're like, I don't know what to say. Like, what? I'm just looking, I don't know. I'm open to all kinds of things. im- People in your network need to have some focus. It's one thing for you to be open, but if you're too open, it causes confusion for your network because too open means they don't know what to refer you to. Especially when you're saying, well, I'm open to this, I'm open to that, I could go this sector, that sector, that's good. But at the same time, again, it's not very focused. So what I want to encourage you to do is think about very clearly what you want to do and for whom you want to do it. What is your lane? What is your community? Okay. So discovering your lane and community, again, your lane, think your job title. So it could be if you've had the same kind of lane for many years, like you've been an accountant, you've been a project manager, Pete is on this call and he's been in cybersecurity, your lane may be very obvious to you, and that's easy. But it might be that you're looking for a career shift. So in which case may want to inventory your skills and your motivators. Now, I do have a video here that you can click on that goes into this exercise that I have called passiontivity. And with passiontivity, what you're doing, I know this is very small here, but it'll show you how to inventory your skills in terms of skills and motivators. And when you do that, it'll help you to focus in on your lane because it's that box in the upper right corner called high engagement. I know it's really small print here, called high engagement, where you're highly skilled and highly motivated to do the work. You'll start to notice in that box that there's a confluence of skills that'll help you to think what type of lane and where do I really want to focus. And one of the things that I talk about is this concept called ing versus er. Ing versus er. Ing is the skill, er is the profession. So say like writing versus writer, event planning, event planner. So there are a lot of folks, right, on this call who know how to write. I know how to write, you know how to write, right? We can write all kinds of things. But we've got Peter Hung on this call, who's a speechwriter. He's a writer. Doesn't have just writing, he's a writer. Okay. And so that's a very particular thing. And it might be that you want to focus your skill sets, really concentrate your skills from an ing to an because you have a really strong aptitude for something that maybe you didn't get to use all the time, but you may want to repurpose it in your resume and in your LinkedIn and your networking to say, hey, I really want to shift into that. And I tell this story of years ago. I'm a career coach as well as a recruiter. And I coached a guy who was an attorney and decided he wanted to become a writer. And so we found all of his writing skills in his resume and we created a new LinkedIn profile. And he ended up getting a job as a journalist with a legal trade publication. So he shifted his lane into writing, into a writer rather, but he kept the legal community because it was safe for the employer. The employer's like, hey, you're an attorney, you understand this legal world, we'll give you a shot. And he did well enough. Now he's an English teacher. Okay. So you can do this. You have to do the shift with intention. And your community, right, is the industry mission or sector that you serve. And because every community has its own sectoral nuances, jargon, if you will, it's good to understand the community language. And so that's another reason why you want to go after people in your community when you're networking with them. So when I talk about communities, there's a very broad communities like corporate, nonprofit, government, right, the big sectors, but then there's like these sub-communities, environmental, nonprofit, or commercial real estate or higher education or more specific, an animal welfare nonprofit, right? You can really kind of drill into your communities to help your community help you to ferret into link. Now, with the federal folks, right? Look, I've been talking as I'm sure you have too. I've been talking with some feds recently. Last 2 days, I talked to displaced USAID workers, right? There's 10,000 of them. And it happened to be that both of them were not just USAID, but they were in the education, right, sub-community. And so we've been talking about different ways that they could pivot out of that world and maybe go into education technology. Or one of them says she's got some thought leadership. She's like, hey, I want to maybe work with Google and help them when they're creating some education tech stuff to understand what's going on, on boots on the ground with the kids or whatever. Like there's different things you can do if you're trying to shift your community, stay within your community, but maybe a different part of your community. And you never know the people in your network who could be a resource for you. One of the beautiful things about LinkedIn is that everybody's first level always has a second level. In other words, people know people right outside in that outer ring. And oftentimes, when you're in a community, I want everybody to listen up here. When you're in a community, there are adjacent communities to you that might want to hire you. So let's say you're we're going to take the feds. You're an FDA, CDC, NIH, whatever, right? Well, guess what? Your first level, sure, they might be colleagues and they might be in that, Fed world. But a lot of those people might know people in pharma, in biotech, right? In the private sector, the adjacent community who serves that community that you came from. I'm mentioning that because everybody's got that. You don't realize it, but you do. There's always, always, always adjacent communities around you. And so be thinking creatively, if you're going to make a community shift, who's the next layer right outside of me who might feel that I'm part of the family, Okay, that's the community concept. They may not be your sibling, but they might be your first cousin, and they might feel like you actually do understand their community language. And by the way, it's much easier to shift your lane or your community, not both, because it's less risky for the employer. Okay. And by the way, I know a couple of folks joined us after I started this little speech. Just know this is a document. It's purposely not a PowerPoint. Okay. This is a Word document that I'm going to put into the chat after we're done here because it's kind of a manual around networking. I'm just kind of walking through, for posterity, I'm walking through what's in here. So the next thing is really prioritizing knowing your family, what I call your family tree. And I have a video around that I'll show you later. But this by understanding your family tree, professionally speaking, it's figuring out the people who can best support your search. These are either people who want to help you or are best capable of helping you. And the best referral sources are people who are both in your lane and your community. And one of those sets of people are your past colleagues, the people who actually know what you do. They are oftentimes your biggest supporters. And you want to also think about people who are relationally close to you. So this little video, again, when you get into the document, I describe what I call accessing the hidden job market by leveraging your twins, siblings, first cousins, and second cousins relationally and professionally. So I'm not going to do the training now, but I want you to know there's a video that you can watch around this. So if you're a community or a sectoral changer, again, don't worry if most of your first level connections aren't in your current community. As I just mentioned, right? You can have the people who are adjacent. And this is really where we get right into how do you do the LinkedIn searching? And from here, we're going to get into this conversation together and we're going to actually open up our LinkedIn and help each other. So the first thing is to understand what I call deep sea fishing into your first level connections. Okay. Everybody here who has a LinkedIn profile, you all have first level connections. So what you want to do is because you're never going to remember all the people who are in your first levels, you need to remind yourself, particularly the people who are relationally close to you, but also the people who are in your lane and community. And these are the people who are going to be some of your best referral sources. So real quickly, I'm going to go through these little snapshots. When you're on your main page, you're going to click on the My Network tab, which is up in the masthead. Then you're going to click on your connections, and then you're going to search with filters. And then you're going to put in the type of title of person you're seeking. Why do I say the type of title of person you're seeking? Well, some of your best referrals are going to come from people who do exactly what you do. They are not your competitors, they are your competitive mates. Okay? Because they're going to hear about opportunities that are not right for them, but could be right for you. So if you were a mid-level marketing person, you might put in director of marketing. Okay. And this is within your own first levels to find out who are the people, remind yourself of the people who do what you do. But then if you want to filter down by community, you can actually add that community right after the title. So I put director of marketing healthcare and I came up with this woman, Karen. She's a director of marketing services at the American College of Radiology. There you are. Okay. And LinkedIn will give you various versions of people. And there's different ways to narrow down, but this is one of the easiest ways to narrow down. Just stick in a title, put in a sector, and then see who you get. Okay. And then schedule a touch base call. A lot of people don't check their LinkedIn. Okay. So what you want to do is that you want to send a message, but also send an email so that you can schedule a Zoom call or a face-to-face chat. And I gave a little sample message here, hey, Jane. Hi, Vern, right? It's been a long time since we connected in person. Want to invite you for a Zoom catch-up call. Also want to hear how you're doing, share some insights on my end. Okay, if I toss out some dates. Um, and it's a very simple thing. Now, before you meet the person, so here's my client Brian, he's first level, do some deep sea fishing into their first level contacts. So you did some deep sea fishing into your own contacts before you get into that meeting, do fishing into their contacts. And you can do that if the number of their connections is blue, that means it's open for you to check. If it's black, you can't. Once in a while, people turn off their connections from anybody to see, but usually it's blue, which means it's open. And what you want to do is on that, once you click on their connections, then you filter down again to the people in their connections that you want to connect with. Why? Because it'll make it easier when you get on the call. at the point where they ask you, hey, Megan, what's going on in your search or what's going on with you, right? And you say, hey, I'm looking for XYZ. And then you can say, you know what, Brian, before our call, I did some deep sea fishing. You can say that on in your connections, and there are a few people that I kind of like to meet. But how you got there, Megan, was putting in that. I'm going to go with director of marketing, putting in the director of marketing title in Brian's first level, and sure enough, here's several, and a whole bunch of people are going to come up. So during the meeting, you can actually use your screen share to go to say, Brian, hey, you do the search and say, hey, I found these people. And then say, hey, there's like 3 or 5 people here that I'd love some introductions to, and ask who Brian is comfortable making some intros to. But because Brian's busy and he's going to forget, that's just what happens, ask him if you can send a tickler email with a sample introduction along with your resume, right? To kind of prompt him to do it. And then the next thing you can do after you do all of that, you've done your first levels, you've done Brian's first levels, you can then go into your own, you can go to your own second levels. And the reason why you'd want to go to your second levels, these are probably strangers, because you might share a common professional interest. This is what happens, right? You might also share, again, they can possibly share opportunities that are not right for them, but are right for you. They could also become your internal champion to get your resume noticed. And they might also be able to help you transition to their sector because they're in a sector maybe you're not in yet, and they can maybe give you some advice. Okay. So again, go back to your homepage, start a fresh search in the search bar. And again, you can put in any keywords related to the title that you want or the sector, the community, and then you can kind of shift around until you get the right list of people. So again, you can start with a title. Now I'm shifting to a new lane, project manager. Again, project manager healthcare, right? And then you hit the people button, and then you can start to reach out to folks. Okay. And think of it as, an opportunity to expand your professional network. Okay. So think of it this way. Your job search may have prompted the need for networking, but it's a great opportunity to meet people in your lane or community to expand your professional relationships generally. Most people don't network until they have to. Hello? Most people don't network until they have to. All of a sudden, there's a job search. Oh, I got to scramble on LinkedIn. I got to go to networking meetings, blah, blah, blah. It's a great excuse right now. Expand your network. You never know. I know people, Vern knows people who have been networking their whole career just because they are networkers, so that when there's a need, their network is already there for them. And the same for them, with you. When they have a need, they already know you and you can help them as well. It's also very important to plant tons of seeds. You are now a farmer. You're a farmer. When you reach out to your network, this is not a one-to-one, you plant a seed, get a flower. Mm-mm. The farmers know that the birds, the wind, and the rain are going to eat 50% of the seeds. So they plant more seeds than they're going to need because, right, there's going to be erosion. Same thing. You need to plant tons and tons of seeds. Send out lots and lots and lots and lots of connection requests. People won't check their LinkedIn. They might miss it, whatever. They're busy. You're going to have a big funnel of people, and then you'll get a much smaller number of results. It's just statistically the way it typically happens. But there is something important to know. LinkedIn keeps changing its business model. This is important. So you need to figure out what kind of LinkedIn account you need to do all of this. Right now, if you have LinkedIn's free account, basic account, you can only send 5 personalized invitations per month with 200 character messages. Now, in theory, you can send unlimited non-personalized invitations, just like the click, connect, connect, connect. But if you do too many of those, LinkedIn's going to flag you as kind of spamming. So best practice is to only send no more than 10 personalized invitations, or sorry, 10 non-personalized invitations per week. Plus, if you have the free account, you're not going to have unlimited people browsing. In other words, that search feature that I mentioned, you're not going to have, they'll probably only let you do it a couple of times. But if you have the premium account, and you have the business account, I know it's like you're a job seeker, why would you do business? But that's just the way they label it. Don't go for the first level, the career. Okay. The career one isn't going to give you very many features. It's the second level up that they happen to call business, which is currently $59.99. You can get unlimited people browsing. You can send unlimited personalized invitations for 300 characters each. You can do month to month, but here's what I'd recommend. If you're going to try this out, you can get it for free for 30 days. Be ready to go. Do all of your research, your thinking about your process in advance. What kind of people do you want to reach out to? When you hit the go button, put your head down and maximize your 30 days for free, okay? And then you can go month to month. Okay. And so what I would do is start by, connecting with your second levels, but mentioning that you're connected through a first level connection. So here we have this person, right? She's project manager in healthcare. She's somebody I want to reach out to. She's a second level, and I'm going to reach out to her, through with a message, right? And again, 300 characters if you're premium, otherwise it's 200. And what I did was I want you to see here, okay? Her name is, I don't know if it's Blen or Blanny, and we're connected through this woman, Suzanne Lemenestrel, okay? So what I would do is I would say, hi, Blen, we're connected through Suzanne. Now, notice I didn't say Suzanne referred me because she didn't. I can mention her name. We're connected through Suzanne. That is true. I'm reaching out because we share some career interests in healthcare project management, hoping you might be open to exploring synergies. Let me know if you're interested in a Zoom chat. I'll toss out some dates. That's it. Now, if they agree to meet with you, offer them 3 times to connect. Don't say, let me know what works for you. If you ever say to somebody in networking, let me know what times work for you, you will never hear back from them because it's overwhelming, right? And you're the one who wants a meeting with them. So it's best for you to offer some dates. And then they can always say, no, those dates don't work for me, but here's what does. Okay, because they're very busy. It's too open-ended if you say, just let me know what works for you. So give 3 dates. You can also use your network. You can use your network to get someone to champion your candidacy to land an interview. We talked about that earlier. Again, market is flooded. So you want to go after somebody, preferably hiring manager, HR, recruiter, CEO, or somebody in the department that you're close, or someone in or close to the department that you're applying for. You want to find first or second levels. And I have some language here that you can use. For example, this one is you're sending a LinkedIn connection request to a second level who works at the company. You've already applied to the job and you want an internal champion. And so I have a little message here that you can send. Another one is you're sending a LinkedIn message. Remember, there's a difference between a connection request and a message. A message you can send to the first level. And this is somebody who knows the hiring manager, recruiter, what have you, already applied to the job and you want it to be forwarded. Also, I recommend to send this via email. And here's some sample language. And then there's the networking call itself. Okay. Now, Vern's a master networker and he could have a lot to say about this. I kind of put some thoughts on paper about how you should handle your networking call. And one of the things I think we need to mention here is shifting your mindset. Networking is about relationship building. It's not about your job search. It's really about figuring out how you and somebody else can be mutually supportive, professionally, and I'd even say personally. So you might enter the discussion about your job search, but it's really about an opportunity to see how you can help them and how they can help you. And along those lines, it's really about mutual benefit, right? Be warm, be relational, ask them about their needs, not just sharing your own. Find common points of interest. For example, the person that you know in common, sectoral expertise you share, anything personal. Show them that you care. It's not just about what they can do for you, but you need to care about them as a human being, right? And then when you do get the floor, you can, show how you can be a resource to them. And then also be generous in providing connections that might be helpful to them. It could be anybody. It could be a good home repair person, a good dentist, a good hairdresser, whatever it is. People always need help. And I actually want to, Vern, I'm going to put you on the spot here. I always do. To talk a little bit more about networking. And also, I also say here about being focused on the future. Sorry, before I let you go here. When you do get to share about your job search, be brief and future focused, right? When you're discussing what you want to do, who you want to do it with, don't give them a long, like 10-minute biography, reciting your resume and going, people don't need that. They want the future, where you're going, have a windshield conversation, not a rear view mirror. Let me say it again. Have a windshield conversation, not a rearview mirror. You may talk a little bit about your background, and Vern's going to give you a whole concept around teaching and giving, but make sure that it's you're doing it for the benefit of the conversation, not because they need your whole story, but really keep it around what how you can help, right? So Vern, do you want to tell people about the teaching and giving?
Yeah. So I'm gonna say everything Shira said just from a different kind of perspective, but it's the same message. So at Contacts Count, the very first competency that we work with clients on is the mindset of what networking is. And we boil it down to networking really is about teaching and giving. So the more I teach Shira about who I am and what I'm all about, and obviously as a job seeker, you're trying to teach people, you want them to learn who you are, what you're all about, what your skills are, what you're looking for. But it's not a one-way street. It's about giving. And that's what Shira was speaking to. How do you help them? So the more you learn about them in any conversation you have, and the more conversations you have over time, the more I learn about Shira, the more she learns about me, it expands the number of possibilities where I could help Shira or Shira could help me. And so if you're in this job search process and you are networking, ultimately one of the things, hopefully that'll come out of your job search process, besides landing the job, is you will have developed relationships with people that will go beyond just, hey, I landed the job. This might be somebody who will be in your network for, the next 10 or 15 years, and they will help you and you will help them. And those are the type of relationships that are gold. And again, to emphasize Shira's point, I know I've said this on this call before, but some of you are new. My last three jobs in my career came from people in my network that told me about a job when I was not even looking for a job. And yet they knew enough about me and they knew enough about the role to recommend me again into the C-suite, into a hiring manager, into HR, and it helped me get a job. So I'm a walking billboard for,
Yeah.
this stuff really works.
It does. It does. It works all the time. And I see it constantly happen with my career coaching clients where so many times people get jobs because of because of their network and especially former colleagues. They are some of the best referral sources because they worked with you. They can actually be your reference, right? They can say they can grease the skids. And by the way, especially if you're doing a career shift where this person knows you and knows your story and can actually say to the employer, look, I know what you're going to see on the resume, but talk to Bob, talk to Sally, talk to Megan, talk to Gigi, right? Like you just got to talk to this person because they're great. I worked with them. I can vouch for them. Just give them a chance and let them tell them your story.
Yeah.
So it's just, there's nothing like it.
Yeah, the key point there with colleagues is they know you in a way that it's hard for other people to know you because they worked with you. They know how you communicate. They know
Right,
how you follow up. They've
right.
they've experienced your personality, your character, your competence in many different ways. So they can really be a really powerful, resource for you if they're able to be able to connect you to a job opportunity.
Completely. And that also goes for the hiring authorities themselves. And I'll just give you an example. Yesterday, I was on a call. As I mentioned earlier, I'm a career coach. I'm also a recruiter. So on my recruiting side, I'm doing an executive search, and I was on the call with a search committee. So it's like half a dozen people. And as it happens, the candidates that I presented for this search happen to come from the industry and have worked closely with this organization. And so the people on the search committee, some of them knew the candidates, like from working with them in other circumstances. And there were some people who were like, "Oh yeah, I've worked with Bob, right? I've worked with this person, and I can vouch. Oh wow, yeah, this person is blah, 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 blah. I actually saw them in action." Okay, so you never know who you're going to be talking with. If that person's worked with you or somebody else's worked with you, those relationships really, really extend. And all we're trying to do here is help you to mine for those relationships, to remind people of who you are and what you're looking for so that they can start being your champions out there in the community. Okay. What I did was I put down here just a few little articles around networking. There's a million out there, but I just put down a few here that would be helpful. I did put down my contact information, and actually, Vern, if you'd like to put yours in the chat too, we offer complimentary calls, but this is my information is here. Okay, so with all of that, so we're going to use our kind of remaining time here to actually get in and do a little bit of networking. Um, and of course, this call is recorded, so you can go back to it. And I'll put in the chat the document I just shared, and I'll put in the chat the remind people of our Higher Moment Mastermind link on my own website where you can see the recordings. We go all the way back to beginning of COVID. We've been doing this for 5 years. And so what I'd like to do now is this. We're going to go around the room, okay? And first of all, I'd like everybody right now, go ahead and minimize your Zoom screen. So hit the little minimize button in the upper right-hand corner of your Zoom screen. So now that's going to give you access to the rest of your computer. I'd like you to open up LinkedIn. Okay. And I would like you to click on the My Network tab, which is in that main bar. And then you're going to click on your connections. And then you're going to see search with filters, or you don't even have to do that. You'll just see a normal search bar. In fact, I'm going to do it myself. So you can I'll show you what to do here, because you're going to start to help each other with networking. Okay, so here's what you're going to do. Okay. So you're going to go to the My Network tab. You're going to go to your, sorry, my computer's being slow. You're going to go to your connections. And what you're going to do is right here in the search bar, okay, you're going to start to help your colleagues by putting in key terms. And what I'm going to do is, as we go around the room, everybody's going to say the following. Okay, you're going to say your lane, and you're going to say your community. Meaning you're going to say the title, the type of title that you're looking for, roughly speaking, project manager, cybersecurity, something, you just whatever you think the title might be. And then the community, which is the industry, mission, or sector. Okay. And I recognize some of you might be career shifting. That's all you need to say is, I am shifting into this lane or this community. Not the whole, we don't have time for the whole story, because I really need to ask everybody just to give us some grace here. Keep your narrative very, very brief, really brief. Like, I'm looking for speech writing job within the nonprofit sector. That's what Peter might say. Okay, something like very, very short. And when that happens, I will prompt you all and I'll say, hey, I think what you may want to do, everybody, is look in your search bar. Because remember, the reason why we're doing this is to find out who our first level connections are that could be helpful for people on the call. So I might put in here speechwriter. I was looking to help Peter. Remember, I'm doing this because I'm thinking people, speechwriters, right, might know of opportunities that are not right for them, but could be right for Peter. So I'm going to hit speechwriter. I'm going to hit people. Click on the first level. In fact, I didn't even have to go into my connections for that. I could have just done a regular search. And here you go. Turns out that I got a bunch of people who my first levels who are speechwriters. Now, so far, none of these people am I close with. There's 5 pages worth here, which doesn't mean that I couldn't do an introduction. It's just that it's not going to be as helpful. But let's just say, play pretend that I actually knew Andrew. I don't, but let's just say I did. That's the kind of person I'm talking about. When you go into your network and you try to look for somebody else, preferably the person you're going to introduce them to is somebody you actually know, okay? Where you would feel okay doing an intro. You could do it for other people, but it's just easier, right? It's more relational when you know the person. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to say, so Megan, you're doing the search for on behalf of Peter. you found Andrew in your, right, and you know Andrew, you might, what you're going to do here on this call is you're going to chat um, Peter. You say, hey, Peter, I have a person. Okay. His name is Andrew Shirley. And what'll happen is Peter, I know we've got two Petes, Pete Jones and Peter Hong. Okay. So Peter Hong, Peter, you're going to grab Megan's, you're gonna send Megan your email address. Okay. So you're gonna, so Peter, put your information in the email in the chat. Megan, grab my email. Megan, I want you to reach out to Pete. And by the way, you can all do it with each other, right? Everybody put their information in. So I want you both to reach out to each other. And Peter, make sure that you send Megan and anyone else a little blurb, like 3 lines that Megan can use in an introduction. That's what we're trying to do. That's the post call. So you need to connect via email. Peter, you need to say, Megan, here's a little blurb you can use. And then Megan goes ahead and commits to brokering an introduction. And she'd say, hi, Andrew. Please meet my colleague, Peter Hong. Here's a little description of what he's looking for. Thought the two of you might find mutual synergies. Please feel free to connect directly. Like that. Very simple. But no matter, imagine if everybody on this call was helping everybody, everybody gets connections and everybody gets to help each other. That's the point of this. This is a curated networking experience. Okay. All right. So before we get going, so Pete Jones, did you have a question?
I was just going to ask if we should share our LinkedIn profile and connect with each other beforehand, but I'll stick my information in the chat and
Yeah. If anybody who is comfortable putting in your information even right now in the chat, that's just easiest so that it's all there and everybody can see it. If you want to do that now, that's great. And there's no obligation here. It's just if you're comfortable. And now let's go ahead and go around the room. And then as you do and say your lane and community, I will give my prompter to say, hey, everybody, I think you should put this kind of search, okay, to see if you know someone.
one other question, I guess. You had mentioned about sharing your resume, with people during your networking calls and whatnot. Do you think it would be better to have a marketing document and share a marketing
You know,
plan, marketing
people
document?
people do. I'm of mixed mind with that. I know why people suggest that, and you can go to groups and they'll say, "Oh, have a marketing document in one page." There's nothing wrong with that. I think that's fine. At the end of the day, most people think in terms of resumes rather than marketing documents. So you may want to have both and say, "Here's a marketing document. In case you want to know specifically what I'm looking for, here it is." But if you actually want to send a resume to somebody, this is the one the good, a solid generic version that I would send. Okay. All right. So I'm going to prompt you before it's your turn. So it'll be Pete Jones first, and then James, and then Peter Hong. All right, Pete Jones, you want to share lane and
Sure,
community?
before we start with that, so I'm on the connections page
Mhm.
and the search engine says search by name. Is that the correct
Nope.
filter I want?
Nope.
Okay.
Nope. Thank you for asking that. Nope. Search by name is only if you literally want to search by name. And I should share something else. You don't even really have to go to the search by connections. The easiest thing to do, if you're just on your regular main page, just regular homepage, and you do this search. So again, speechwriter, hit enter. You'd hit the people button and then first level connections. And that's the easiest way to do the search actually. Okay, so you don't have to go to your connections. And there are other filters that you can use as well. I'm trying to keep this really simple for right now. All right, so Pete Jones and then James and then Peter Hahn.
So my lane, I guess, cybersecurity, and I really don't have a specific community that I'm targeting.
Okay, so cybersecurity. So that's pretty simple. So I would ask everybody to just go to your search bar, put in cybersecurity, hit the first level, see if you know anybody. Again, I recognize we're all very diverse. There may not be people who have cyber, but you might, that you could make an intro for Pete. And if so, please direct message him in the chat and let him know that you have a connection. Okay, that's how we'll do this. All right, James and then Peter Hahn.
So my lane, I'm trying to switch to data governance analyst or data steward. I don't really have a community.
But again, so both of you are sort of the IT community broadly, but it's really about your lane. So, and James is looking for something very, very niche. So you could try everybody, put in the terms data, or put in data governance, um, or just even data might even work because understand too that when I should let you all know this, the reason why we're doing it this way is because of how LinkedIn's algorithm works. LinkedIn, whenever you put a keyword into the search bar, the first thing that LinkedIn does is it looks for the headlines of people's LinkedIn profiles. So if I put in director of marketing, LinkedIn's going to look for people's headlines that say director of marketing or marketing leader or market, but that kind of thing. LinkedIn's thinking about the career headline. So if you put in the word data, the people whose headlines say data right up top might be a good connection for James because that means that's actually data's their lane. Data governance is their lane, not just somebody who does data and data analysis as part of their whatever job. I mean, like actually, it's their career headline. That's why I want you to put that word in there, data or data governance. Does that make sense? Okay, so think about the search bar as a place for the title because that's how LinkedIn's going to be looking for you. Okay. All right, Peter Hong and then Monica.
Morning, everyone. So Shira covered it. Speech writing, executive communications, strategic communications is the lane. My community has been trade associations, nonprofits, and kind of the more political space of government.
So in this case, because Peter has lots of different communities he can go into, I would really just stick with, again, with his lane. So just put in speechwriter. You could put in writer, that's pretty generic, but I think Peter is, the speech writing thing is much more his focus. Okay. All right, Monica and then Megan. You're on mute, Monica.
Okay. Yeah, I'm trying to look at something at the same time. My lane is communications and marketing. What makes me unique is that I can do fundraising, writing, and web design, web and print design all in one. And I've recently figured out that I also have niche expertise in trauma-informed fundraising through USAID OTI work and other things that I've done. I didn't even realize that that was a niche, but apparently it is. And so I have been in international development for decades, and so I'm open to staying in international development. But there are literally tens of thousands of wonderful people out there. And so um, I would like to shift to serving veterans if I can, if I can't stay in international development, coming from a military town and having military connections.
So what I would do with Monica is I would put marketing, could also put communications. And then remember how you can do the lane and the community together. So you could put marketing, you could put communications. You could also put another word in there. You could put international, you could put veterans, maybe those two, maybe even nonprofit. So so lane, and then she's got a few different communities. All right. So if anyone has a contact, please message her directly. All right, Megan and then Hillary.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm looking for HR generalist or business partner roles within healthcare or higher education.
Great, very simple. So put in human resource. Now, mind you, is it Megan or Megan?
Megan.
So in Megan's world, in the human resources world, there's different nomenclature for what she does. Some people say human resources, there's human capital, there's HR generalists. So, but I would just for the moment put in like human resources or human capital. See if you know anybody there. That's probably the more generic thing, right? And then I'm sorry, what communities did you say you were looking at?
Healthcare
Healthcare, yeah.
mostly.
Want to get more niche, you could say healthcare, but I think because we're so diverse here, more than likely, I think just a general HR person might be more helpful. And Megan, you know about HR Leaders in Transition group?
No.
Okay, so go on. Sorry, this is a sidebar for Megan. There is an informal group of HR professionals. It's called the HR Leaders in Transition. It's here in the DMV. If you pop that into LinkedIn, there's a group. They used to be an in-person group, but now they're a LinkedIn group. Just hit the groups button and you'll find them. There's a bajillion people on that list and you can join it and then network with the people there.
Okay.
That's
And
just a side.
Megan, when you do that, when you connect with them, let me know because Laura Vmeyer, who runs that group, she and I have known each other for 20 years and we continue to, Laura and I have the relationship that she and I talk about all the time. I can help Laura, Laura can help me at any point in time.
Yep.
Yeah.
I
So,
see a few here. So you said the one in DC?
Mhm.
Join that one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. And by the way, since I mentioned this for Megan, for everybody else's sake, there's lots of ways to network, not just through your LinkedIn. You can also join groups, not just groups on LinkedIn, although you can do that. So you can put your title or your community into the search bar, hit enter, and then hit groups. You might find a group that's actually in your world. Pete Jones, I'd imagine in particular in cyber, there's probably some groups. Go join the groups, and once you join a group, and you're a member, it's more legit, right, for you to reach out to somebody in that group and say, hey, we're part of the same group. Would you like to network? But even beyond LinkedIn, for those of you who know the association community, which is our membership organizations, there's an association for everything, literally everything. There's a wooden pallet association. I mean, there's literally an association for everything. You can do that too. You can put in whatever your lane is and put the word association there. So if Megan knows who her association is, but if she didn't know what SHRM was, you'd say, put in human resources in the word association. What's going to come up is the Society for Human Resource Management. Okay. So there's all the, Monica, of course, knows the American Marketing Association, but if she didn't, she'd put Marketing Association and AMA would come up. So I highly recommend that you do that as well, is look for the associations as well as the LinkedIn groups. All right, Hillary, and then DG, and then Shayun.
Looking for marketing or communication roles at an association.
Great, pretty simple. All right, so I would just put marketing association in your search bar. All right, and then DG, and then Shayun.
Yeah, hi. So I want to focus on risk management, so governance, risk, and compliance. There's three sectors I'm looking into, specifically IFC and World Bank in the finance sector, and then technology and pharmaceutical.
Wow. Okay. So maybe just risk manager, maybe is a good person for you to connect with. And then it sounds like you've got different sectors. So maybe for everybody, maybe just stick with risk manager to see if anybody has that kind of person. We'll keep it simple. Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. And then Shayun.
All right, good morning, everyone. I'm looking for roles as L&D manager, so learning and development manager, talent development, or employee engagement within healthcare or healthcare systems.
So Megan and Shayun, you all need to talk. That's how this works too. Okay. And James and Pete too. I mean, I know cyber and data governance, I mean, they're not exactly in the same world, but you're in adjacent, right, lanes. The two of you, I think, may want to connect. And even Monica and Hillary, right? Because you both have sort of a marketing thing going on. So
I
just
think DG might be good too for me and John.
Oh, okay, great. So when you
Yeah.
said risk management, you were talking about the IT side of risk management?
Yes.
Oh, thank you. I didn't even realize that. There you go, three of you. Yeah, for sure. By the way, years ago on this call, we actually had a few IT professionals who actually formed their own little subgroup offline of us. And all they did was they went and hadn't just networked in the IT space. So y'all are welcome to do that. Anytime you make a connection, whether you just want to have a Zoom call with somebody or you want to create a little side group, go for it. We are happy to help people network. So whatever you'd like to do.
Yeah, one other thing to think about when you like risk manager and you get connected to someone who's a risk manager, but it's not exactly in the space that you're looking for. I mean, one of the things to ask them is, do you know anybody who is in this particular space? And maybe they can connect you to another person who is closer to what you're looking for.
Yep. Yeah, the closer you can get, the better. So you're trying to get to what I call your professional twins. This is why we did the networking the way we're doing it. Try to find people who do what you do or do what you want to do. They are the people who are going to hear about opportunities that are not right for them, but could be right for you. And the reason why I say that all the time is because as a recruiter, that's the presumption that I make. All recruiters make this presumption when we go and search for people. We have the search in mind. We know the lane. We know the title of the job. We know the community of that organization. And we use the search bar, just like you're doing it. That's what we do to find you. And we put in speechwriter, cybersecurity, data governance, whatever that title is. And we assume that when we come up with a list of people, hundreds of people typically, when we start reaching out and we say, hey, Pete, random person I've never met before, doing a search for cybersecurity analyst, blah, 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 whatever. Who do you know? We assume birds of a feather. We assume, rightly so, that Pete's going to know either cyber people, James is going to know other governance people, Peter's going to know other speechwriters. We assume that because that's just the way communities are formed. That's why we have associations. That's why we have LinkedIn networking groups. That's why we have meetup groups, right? People join. There's an affinity, right? They're affinity groups. We assume that if a job's not right for you, you might know a colleague. It's happened to me countless times in recruiting where someone's like, oh no, I'm not good. I'm happy in my job. Call Susie. Happens all the time. That's why we're asking you to do this. You can be your own recruiter. Go find the people who can refer you the hidden jobs. That's why we're doing this. Does all this make sense? The power of this? Yeah, it's really about networking. Okay. Phew. So with that, I know we're kind of out of time. First of all, has this been helpful? Has anybody been able to, I know you guys are doing private chatting. Have you found anybody for anybody else? Raise your hand if you found anybody that you could think could be helpful for other people.
Well, I have an issue where I have literally 7 pages of people with cybersecurity experience.
That
And
you know
so,
well enough that you could introduce to Pete? Like you know them?
well, I know the one I know the best is a former Wikistrat colleague who's actually French. He's a really great guy. And he's done TED Talks.
Okay. Here I'm gonna press pause, Monica. I'm gonna jump off of what you just said. Here's what I would recommend for anybody on this call who has more than one person that you might want to introduce. Here's what I'd recommend if you're open to it. In this case, Monica, schedule a Zoom call with Pete. When you're on the Zoom call, Monica, open up your LinkedIn, share it with Pete, show him the list, and have Pete help you narrow it down and say, oh, Monica, I actually want to do Susie, Bob, and Frank, right? And then he can show you based upon what the kinds of titles that these people have, if they're actually going to be a good connection. And then I would do it that way, right?
No,
So
that makes sense because
you can't make you wouldn't
cybersecurity
know.
is broad. I
You
don't
would
know
know,
enough
and
about
Pete
it.
would know specifically. He'll look at certain titles and go, "Oh yeah, yeah, not Susie. I need Bob." Right? Yeah. Helpful? Yeah, Pete.
I was just gonna say, when we schedule that call, it'd probably be beneficial as well if I looked in advance, assuming we're connected at that point,
Absolutely.
to look at her network beforehand and vice versa.
That's a great point.
Monica could look at mine and see for marketing and whatever
Exactly right. Do the deep sea
area.
fishing in advance perfectly. That's a great tip. Yep. And you can do that all with each other. So you now have everybody's contact, reach out. You never know. You never know. Look, Monica's in marketing, Pete's in cyber. Like who knew that they would have connections, right? That could be helpful, but our networks are bigger than we think. All right. So before we wrap up, does anybody have any other kinds of questions? I'm not going to take another hour for this, but anybody have like other burning kinds of job search questions that Vern or I could address? Peter and Peter and then DG.
Yeah, you said that you're going to put the document you were.
Thank you. Thank you. Appreciate that. Yes, yes, yes.
And I
Right.
was just going to suggest people save the chat as well with all the our contact information.
Yes, please do that.
After Shira posts her link there.
Yep. That means I have to close it. Okay. And then DG, did you have a different question?
I have a different question, but it could probably wait until the next time. It has to do with connecting with recruiters. For
Oh.
some reason, it gets discouraged in one of the seminars that I attended, but I think it's helpful.
Okay.
So maybe for the next session.
Okay. Megan, Megan said for DG, you were interested in risk in what industry again? DG, you're on mute.
Finance, technology, and pharma.
Okay.
Thank you.
Great. Oh, and I also wanted to put in the chat the link to where you can find all of our videos from this call for the last 5 years, including the one for today. I'll put that up a little bit later. Okay. And the last 2 meetings were just networking, this type of, lane and community networking. But everything else prior to a month ago was more just general job search questions, resumes, interviews, all the things. Will the next meeting have this format? For now, yeah. For now, I'm not gonna go through that whole document again because I did that once and it'll be recorded. But I do want to continue to do a lot of this networking, but more. Maybe we'll do part networking, we'll do part open Q&A. I'm just sort of experimenting right now, trying out something a little different. So some open Q&A, some networking. And when the Higher Vision program is ready, which is again going to be for the feds and contractors and NGOs, which I'm ramping up again to launch it maybe in a month or so. I will let you all know if you want to refer people to it.
One other last thing, Shira, that as they're going through, all of this and looking at resumes and so forth and so on, you and I talk about this all the time. Don't forget to look back in your resume for what we refer to as dormant relationships.
Mm-hmm.
People who, again, knew you, liked you, experienced you. Those people, even if you haven't talked to them in 10 years, if you simply reach out to them and say, hey, I saw your name on LinkedIn, or I just, or I was thinking about a time when we worked on this project, just curious, how are you? How have you been? What's going on in your world? And lo and behold, you might find a gold mine of information or potential leads.
You never know. It could be, you may not have talked to the person in 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. It doesn't matter. As long as you left on good terms, they should be delighted to hear from you, and it'll be a blast from the past conversation.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, everyone. So we're going to go ahead and wrap up this formal part of the meeting. For anyone who would like to stay on the call, I offer a short prayer call for folks. All right. So otherwise, look forward to seeing you all in a couple of weeks. Have a blessed day.